there comes a point in our life where we need to slow down, stop, and reflect to do this thing called finding yourself. When people tell you to go find yourself, I think that statement has a lot of things in it that can be very confusing. There's a lot to uncover and talk about because finding yourself, where do you even begin? Who do you ask? What questions do you need to ask yourselves? And lastly, how do you even know if you need to find yourself? When I came to that point in my life where I needed to find myself, it was probably very, it was very, very confusing because I didn't even know where to start in my journey, finding myself. Where do I begin? Do I go back to my past? Do I dig in my present? Or do I think about the future? Where do I start? And I used to think that finding yourself meant, maybe traveling alone, go on a hiatus, disappear for 2 years and come back a totally different person. I also thought that finding yourself was being locked up in my room, writing down notes and journaling all of my thoughts in one piece of paper until I come to a conclusion of who I am as a person. And I also thought that maybe, mostly because the movies do this, it's that I go hiking on a mountain and I just stay up there isolated from human beings and needed time by myself. I thought that those methods was the solution for me to find myself. But I quickly learned that that is wrong. You cannot find yourself by isolating yourself in your room, talking to nobody. You cannot find yourself by traveling the whole entire world and coming back thinking that everything will be better. And also finding yourself is not about being alone in the mountain, isolated from everybody. That will cost a lot of money. It probably will. So I quickly learned that finding yourself, you cannot do it alone. You have to have other people in your life or in that moment that support you, that will encourage you on your journey as you find yourself. And having an outsider's opinion, it's healthy. It's actually a blessing because you get other people's perspective of who you are, and you can either take that or leave it. And yes, you can probably find yourself by doing those three: traveling alone, being in a mountain, and being in your room. You probably can find yourself by doing those three methods, but you probably can't do those three until you've accomplished and done these two things. The first one, which is owning your reality. Yes, owning your reality. And that means owning your life, your insecurities, your weaknesses, your strengths, who you are as an individual, and your current situation right now. Because once you own your reality, then you are being real with yourself. Then you are allowing the right questions to come to you, so then you're not going around in circles trying to find the solution and the answers to all of your questions. Let's break down what owning your reality can potentially look like. So for example, myself, I know that I'm an introvert, and I used to hate that part of me because a lot of my friends are extroverts. They're outgoing, they're energetic, they're happy, and they know how to be around people. But for me, I'm an introvert, I'm quiet, I'm shy, and I'm not very expressive. And that was a part of me that I was insecure about because I didn't have the potential like my friends do. But I eventually came to owning my reality by saying that, you know what? Even though I'm an introvert, I'm gonna use skills that are gonna benefit me. Like, I'm gonna work on my listening skills. I'm gonna work on how to comprehend information and just listen and stay quiet until the end of the meeting or the conversation. Then I will chime in with my thoughts and conclusions. And the other way is for me to really master the effectiveness of paraphrasing. Paraphrasing will definitely work in my favor as I'm an introvert. I'm listening and people are talking, and once everyone settles down, I can go back and say, okay, this is what I'm hearing. This is what I heard. So by using paraphrasing and by working on my listening skills, I think that's gonna benefit me the best as an introvert. And the second reality that I had to accept was my self-doubt. I had so many self-doubts. I'm constantly having battles in my head all the time. I'm constantly indecisive, doubting myself, making sure that, okay, is this gonna be the right decision or am I gonna do it correctly? I didn't have a lot of confidence in my head and that hurt. It hindered my performance. So I had a lot of self-doubts in my actions and decisions. By accepting that reality, I now know that, okay, I need someone, maybe one or two, someone in my life, in my group that I can go to for support to help give me that extra push. By doing that, anytime I have self-doubt, I can go to that person and ask them, hey, I'm not really sure about this decision. I'm not really confident in this area. Can you help me? Or what can I do? What should I do? Because by getting another person's perspective and outside opinion is a blessing. They are telling me the good areas and the bad areas, and that definitely helps my self-doubt a lot. Until you own your reality, then you can finally ask the right questions to see if you really need to find yourself or to see if you need growth or the right questions for you to become a better person in your life. Okay, diving into asking the right questions. Before we start that, I want us to understand that these questions should work for you and not against you. These questions should also help ground you and not confine you to certain answers and solutions. Let's go over some questions that we can turn it around to work in our favor to make sure we're actionable. When will I become a better version of myself? It's still a little vague, but if we ask the right question by turning it around, instead of saying that, we say this. How do I find ways to love myself? Loving is more actionable, so at least you know where to start. Let's take a look at another one. What do I want to give up? Now again, this question can be tough for a lot of us. There are a lot of things in our lives that we probably don't want to give up. Instead, ask yourself this. What do I want to go big on? Because there's a lot of choices in our life or things in our life that we don't want to give up. But there is not a lot of things in our life that we are willingly and brave enough to go big on. Once you ask yourself, what can I go big on? Whatever that is, then that is more of a concrete and grounded question for you to answer and really think about. Do I want to go to college? I don't know. Do you want to go to college? Maybe you don't. Maybe you do. Instead of saying, do you want to go to college? I think the right question should be, why is going to college important to you? That allows you to actually explore yourself, to really identify your reasonings and your why. Because by saying, do you want to, you can just technically say, nah, I don't really want to. But if you say, why is it important to me? That is a deeper conversation that you need to have with yourself, a deeper self-reflection, and then that's going to give you a more concrete answer. And whatever you find, then you're at least gonna feel a little bit more confident in the decision that you make. The last question to look over, which is, why can't I find the right partner? For a lot of people, we are concerned about finding the right partner in our life because we have boundaries and expectations, and we're afraid that that person might not react the same or might not meet our expectations. And that can sometimes confine us. So by asking yourself, why can't I find the right partner? It's probably wrong. Because by saying that, you are lowering down your expectations a little bit. And that can eventually lead the wrong people into your life. That question also kind of instigates that you are kind of doing things for other people and not for yourself. The beautiful question you should be asking yourself is, how can I attract the right partner? It means you are focusing on yourself. You are going to be focusing on the things that makes you attractive. you are bringing that partner to you. You're not going to them. Because when you work on yourself and you are attracting yourself, then you will attract the right people into your life, whether that's a relationship, friends, family, whatever you're trying to attract into your life. If you work on yourself, then finally you will bring in those right people into your life. Circling back to the question, how do you find yourself? I think that is still a difficult statement and task to do because finding yourself can be difficult. But I think if you were to practice owning your reality, accepting who you are, your situations, your insecurities, then you can finally face that question of finding yourself. Then you will get one step closer to that answer. And then once you do that, you will be able to ask yourself the right questions so that you're not running in circles going back to square one. Because asking yourself the right question, it's important instead of asking the wrong questions. So that is maybe a solution for you to practice before you start going down the route of finding yourself. It's owning your reality and asking the right questions.